So I think it's extra important for us to really be aware of our own energy and making sure that we can still feel confident, that we can still feel safe to show up and be ourselves so that we can do the things that actually affect change. Being our full self, shining our lights, planting seeds when necessary or when we're able to, and being able to do things from a place of love. Welcome to the Energy Within podcast, helping you to embrace your weird, beat imposter syndrome, and take action on your soul's purpose. My name is Carrie Jokala. I am your host. I am a Reiki master teacher, a fitness instructor, a wife, a mom to 2 little boys, and this is episode 180, and you'll have to ignore the stuffy sound of my voice. Remember, I think it was last month, it had to be last month, this is only a couple episodes into March, where I mentioned how you don't have to give meaning to everything, and that I'd been sick a couple times already this year, and I wasn't going to overanalyze it unless I got sick again. Well, I guess it's time to overanalyze it. I don't fully feel like it's a slowing down. I feel like it's a clearing out in a way to get me ready for everything that seems to be positively headed my way. So, I don't know. That's my quick, short analyzation. But today's episode is hopefully going to be short, although to be honest, I don't fully have my thoughts completely sorted out, so I'm just going to do my best and talk it out right here. So of course, I'm not going to dive into any political topics, anything super specific, but suffice to say, I would think we could all agree that there's a lot going on in this world that can seem bleak, and that maybe it feels like it's a lot, and maybe a lot more, perhaps, than it's been, if not just in our lifetime right now, possibly past generations, but I don't know what it felt like to go through other big events and other things that maybe don't get talked about that were going on at the same time. Who really knows? So the fact remains, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of arguing. There's a lot of things that no matter what side you're on, whatever topic, things can seem like there's a bleak outlook no matter how you look at it. And here's where my thoughts get hard to lay out. The whole point is going to be really protecting your own energy, your own space, your own happiness, your own mental health, so that you can still live the life that you want to live the life that you deserve to live, be able to do the things that you want to do, be the person that you want to be. That's really the main point that all of this is going to come back to. When it comes to personal interactions, individual level type things, I am of the belief that you can't just ignore anything that's become a problem. You have to talk about it. I don't think you have to always argue about it. In fact, I would prefer, it would be wonderful if nobody ever had to argue about anything, if there could just be discussions. But nonetheless, things need to be talked about. They can't be kept inside, because that's when everything eventually builds up and explodes, and then things are way worse than they would have been if they had just been talked about and addressed before that. However, I'm really starting to think that when it comes to more global scale problems, the types of things that we get worried about and overwhelmed about, that we cannot individually tackle or change, at least not in a way that creates any instant change. I want to clarify that because I always talk about how us being ourselves, shining our light is what works over time to affect change on a global scale. So I do believe we can affect all of that. It's just not necessarily instant the way things can be when it's an individual person-to-person issue that needs to be addressed. It can take longer to see the effects of us being ourselves on a global scale. So, while I don't think that those problems should be ignored, I'm not going from one extreme to the other when we go from individual to global scale, I do think that on an individual level, in order to protect our own energy, protect our own happiness, be able to live in that energy of being ourselves and shining our light, we need to, in a way, I guess, limit our exposure to that kind of thing. Anything that we're getting frustrated about, anything we're getting overwhelmed about that we cannot immediately, instantly affect. Is it worth it? Is it going to help anything? Is it helping you? Is it helping the problem? If you are constantly frustrated by it. For one, would you possibly be able to come up with better solutions or things that you could try or that might affect some change if you took a break from worrying about it, a break from looking everything up about it, from looking up news articles about it, from following people who are always talking about it? If you could come back a little more clear-headed, where maybe you let your brain kind of sleep on everything, analyze everything, and you decide what you alone really think would help. See, the main thing is that we are just constantly bombarded, and I know I'm not telling you anything new, but just hang on for a second. We are constantly bombarded with all of the negative, awful, horrible things that happen in this world. And then anytime something major happens, you can't get away from it. You go on social media and it's in everybody's feed. It's on everybody's stories. Everybody's sharing stuff about it. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's forming their instant opinion about it. And it's all kinds of problems from all over the entire world. And we simply are just not designed to handle constant worry and stress like that. That's one reason why we get sick a lot. That's one reason why we end up with chronic physical problems, because we end up so overwhelmed. And I'm not saying it's just from global problems that are causing all of that for us. It's individual things too. But we're letting all of those emotional states stick in our bodies and compound upon each other. And if we're not doing anything to clear them out, they're manifesting physically then. Because our soul is trying to get our attention. And if we're not paying attention to the spiritual, we're not paying enough attention to the emotional, then it's going to go to the physical and be like, hey, pay attention to this. Something needs to be done. And just in a super realistic way of looking at everything, not everybody can do everything about every problem. One thing that frustrates me is people who get upset so much about everybody not caring as much as they do about every single problem. And I understand the frustration, especially when it is a really big problem and more people need to be concerned about it. But expecting everyone to be able to contribute some way or another, whether it's just simply sharing knowledge of it, sharing things that they know about it, or personally getting involved one way or another. Think about all the different kinds of problems that exist in this world. You wouldn't have time to live your own life if all you did was try in some way to contribute towards every single issue that exists. It's just impossible. And I don't think it's what we're here for. We have what we're called to for a reason. Some of us are more drawn, more passionate towards certain issues than we are to others. And I believe there's a reason for that. So we can't sit here and feel bad or let other people make us feel bad that we're not involved with every single problem that exists, because we are not designed for that. It's why we're getting overwhelmed. It's why we're getting frustrated. It's why we're staying in this divided state where everybody's constantly fighting with everybody over every stupid little thing you can think of. It's no longer just the big problems that people are divided and fighting about. It's tiny little things that no one would ever have expected would be offensive. Everything is offensive these days. And it's so frustrating. And I think it's scaring people into not wanting to say or do anything. It's having the opposite effect. So I think it's extra important for us to really be aware of our own energy and making sure that we can still feel confident, that we can still feel safe to show up and be ourselves, so that we can do the things that actually affect change. Being our full self, shining our lights, planting seeds when necessary or when we're able to, and being able to do things from a place of love. Not cheesy love, but the true state of pure love. I never remember the right way to describe it, but I keep hearing more and more about the difference between being nice and being kind. And people might describe it different ways, but pick one and say that one is always trying to be people-pleasing and making sure that you're not upsetting anybody, whereas the other one would be saying what needs to be said and doing what needs to be done, but from a place of love. You can still be blunt. You can still say what needs to be said. You can still do what needs to be done. But it can be done in a way that makes it clear that it's from a place of love. So, like I said, I'm not saying that we should start ignoring bigger problems that need to be solved. I do think it could be helpful to analyze which ones really do need to be solved and which ones actually maybe, possibly could be solved by not talking about it anymore. Because maybe those problems aren't actually problems. They've just been made into problems by words being twisted and perceptions being misinterpreted, whether it's on purpose or not. Maybe if we stop pretending that there was something there to be offended by, I don't know, maybe those little problems would go away. When it comes to the bigger problems that really do need to be solved, I think you still need to protect your energy and allow yourself not to get overwhelmed. Because when we get overwhelmed, when we get into those lower vibrational states, it's not a bad thing. Maybe sometimes we need to feel that. I'm not saying ignore that either or pretend that you're not there or don't allow yourself to go there. But do your best still to protect your energy anyway. Because I don't think we can be at our best when we're in those lower vibrational frequencies, those lower vibrational emotions. We're at our best when we're in the higher vibrational frequencies of love, joy, excitement, happiness. So it doesn't mean approach a problem being happy about it. That's not what I'm saying. But to get yourself personally in a state where you can shine your light and be yourself and be your best, so that you can show up at your best to tackle the problems that you want to tackle. So that you can be in a state of love, so that you can come from a place of love. I think anger can be necessary, but I don't think it's the key to changing the world into what we want it to be. You know what? Normally I end with, I hope that made sense. But today I'm going to say I actually feel like I did a pretty good job explaining the thoughts in my head this time. So, let me throw out there that if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you're getting into those states and you're not sure how to get out, come see me for a Reiki session. We go into every single chakra. It's a full session. We pull cards. I tell you what I pick up on. You can share anything that you feel you need to share to help with figuring out the puzzle pieces and clearing out that stuck energy so that you can start moving forward and shining again. I am going to be launching a monthly membership coming up very, very soon. There's going to be a few different tiers, but the basic tier is going to involve just one group Reiki session a month, and I want to say I'm going to stick it at $33 a month. And if you get in at this founder's level, that's going to be your price for as long as you stay. So if I start increasing the price down the road and you're still in there, your price will not increase. You'll be at the founder's price forever. So watch for that, because I'm going to get that going very soon. And if you enjoyed this episode, if you found it helpful, please share it. Go ahead, take a screenshot, do a screen recording, grab some of the audio, and share it on your social media. If you share it to Instagram, please tag me. I am Carrie Jokala is my handle. Come share your feedback in the Energy Within Facebook group. Make sure you answer the questions if you need to join the group because you're not in there yet. Or simply send it to a friend or a family member. And finally, if you feel so called, I would love if you would leave a 5-star review for the podcast, because reviews, especially on iTunes, are what help to bump it up higher in the rankings and get seen by more people. So if you feel called to do that, I would sincerely appreciate it. And I hope to see you for a Reiki session very soon. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.